Alrighty, folks. So last time we were talking about how to get a building, and specifically the question's been asked numerous times to us: how did we get the Warren Jeffs compound? So I think where I left off, we had a few months of negotiating the deal to get the property with the UEP and some lawyers. And at the point that I left off talking last time, we had the everything worked for the lawyers, the lawyer level, and then we had to take it to the UEP trust, who was against a lot of our activities. And I think this part will speak to a lot of you who run into opposition about starting dream centers and housing the homeless or addicts or different things like that. So here we were. It was the Saturday morning. We nailed down the final details really early. I was up in Hilldale, Utah, where the trust was, across from Colorado City, and we finally, it was heated. Like, it was all working the night before with lawyers, and then that morning, and finally came up with something. And the lead lawyer, Jeff, he's just like, well, we'll take it in and we'll see what they say. They have the ultimate authority in this matter. You have to convince them. And so they gave me just 20 minutes at first, just to kind of talk. And I think I described the meanness of the meeting walking into it. I mean, it was not good. And I had to overcome their objections. And so my PowerPoint comes up begrudgingly. They put the PowerPoint up, and I just started to kind of do my Dream Center thing, just talk about the Dream Center and who we are. And at one point in the presentation, though, I gathered, I hadn't even started yet, and everything was pulling up, and I said we're just here, the Dream Center. I mean, if I could sum it all up and just boil it all down, I think I opened with just sharing my heart as a small town kid. I'm a small town kid from the Midwest, and I just shared my heart with. I'd fallen in love with our community the last few months, and I know what it's like for outsiders to come in, and I just kind of shared my heart a little bit. And then I started the Dream Center presentation, and I just in big, bold words up there, it's on all our presentations, I said, if you want to know one sentence what the Dream Center is all about, this is what we're all about. We're about find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. I said we have no agenda coming into this community. We have no preconceived notion of what this community needs. We're here just to say that we're ready to help. We have resources, we have people who are trained, but we're here to just listen to you guys and to say where you might need help. And from that moment, from the moment I established that our agenda was, we didn't have an agenda. We didn't have a preconceived. We weren't there to try to just kind of expand our program or to calculate. You got to bear in mind this particular community especially had really been worked over by the news and by the media and everybody coming in to make promises. They would just kind of helicopter in and then helicopter out, and nobody really left any lasting help for anybody. And so here we were trying to build on that legacy, right? And so from that moment on, things just got very genuine, very raw, very real, and walked through the Dream Center, and I took them on the hero's journey. Like, that's what the presentation was. The presentation was a really tough thing we were faced with, how we overcame it with the hero and the support of the community. Another really tough. So like, it wasn't just a presentation on these are all the main and amazing things that the Dream Center does, and look how great we are. I took them on this hero's journey of oh my gosh, how are we going to work through this? And look, we worked through it. And I took them on about 4 different heroes' journeys that were kind of catered toward what we felt like their community maybe needed. We were going to do whatever the need was, but we felt like medical was a big need, and addiction recovery was a big need, and remodeling the property was a need. Even though it was an amazing property, they knew that it needed to be updated. And so took them on that hero's journey. And boy, I'll tell you, at the end of the meeting, now they gave me 20 minutes, almost 2 hours later, on their prompting, they had questions. How would you handle this? What is this going to happen? And we were able to have just a very honest conversation. And then in the last 2 minutes of the presentation, the deal was put forth. Everybody said, well, if this deal works for our lawyers, then we like the deal. So we spent almost no time, like I had spent months and months and months working out the architecture of this deal, and then it came down to they just liked the presentation, they liked the realness and the openness, and they trusted that the lawyers were going to make a good deal. And so that's how we got that part of the property. We were able then in October 9th to move into the property. Got my boards all in alignment and got everything signed and ready to go. I will say for those of you who are into the business side of things, we did none of the deal under the banner of our church or under the banner from a legal standpoint or under the banner of the Dream Center. We set up a separate LLC that signed all the agreements. There was a little bit of a kickback on that from the lawyers, but ultimately it's a separate entity. We got it passed through that the contract is in, and then the way it works is since the Dream Center, since our head 501 is a 501, it can be a member of that LLC, which makes it then tax exempt, which helped with our taxes. So the goal was to pay off the old tax debt, which was significant, $50,000 plus a couple $100,000 in other types of fees and things. And so, but by becoming a nonprofit, it arrested the further accrual of any taxes. So that was kind of how we worked out that deal. I will say that in that meeting, I had to articulate and confront a lot of rumors that had stepped up, had come about, and that were kind of keeping that board from wanting to allow us to take ownership of the property. It was not easy. Like it was in your face. You're just going to bring a bunch of prostitutes into town and steal our men and do a bunch of stuff, and you're just going to bring a bunch of drug addicts into one place. And I think in those moments, like when the argument is happening, like when someone is vehemently like speaking to you that way, and they're getting up in arms, you have to find a place within yourself to where you really believe that moment in and of itself is a valuable type of ministry. It is actually a ministry to let people vomit on you and yell at you and regurgitate all the horror on you. There's a ministry moment happening in that moment, and I think when you feel your flesh rising up, and when you want to defend and you want to set the record right, sometimes you have to, but more times than not, when someone is attacking you or your ministry with stuff, whether it's true or not true, there's a moment where you be still and you let them get it all out. If you interrupt them and try to pick apart their argument and take everything, then what I found is you just they get fired up about the next thing because you interrupted their train of thought. Let them finish their entire train of thought and just throw it at you, and then go back and say it's this active listening exercise. So let them know this is what I'm hearing you say. I'm hearing that you're worried that we're going to bring a bunch of people from the outside up here who are into prostitution and things. Well, let's just talk that through. Then we won't. We'll make it a part of the deal that for the first couple of years we'll just serve people just from this community. Would that satisfy that? And so let them get it all out. Sometimes people get it all out and they realize how mundane and stupid it is, and sometimes they get it out and you're like, they're right. We got to address that. So concessions were made based on their feedback that weren't really concessions. They were truly, you look at it, and if truly find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it was our heart, well then we're there to fill their needs, right? And so who are we to dictate and to determine what the needs are of this community who is living it every day, So that's how we got that property, and honestly, that's how we've got every property that I know of. It's a similar pattern to that. Currently, we're walking through fire code and permitting and all the different things with permit application, and So we've talked about that in some of the other videos. I hope this has been helpful to you. I think, I've said this before, one of the greatest disservices we do to other dream centers is that sometimes you just get the cliff notes. You just get the highlights, and the highlights are great. Like, we've spent time editing the highlights and going through them and just putting out there the bite-sized, good digestible chunks. And usually that message is honestly for donors, and it's for people who are supporters. But for people who are doing this on their own and trying to make this happen on your own, like, we feel that it's worth it for you to know the backstory, the backdrop story of all of this. God bless you guys as you go out and buy your property and get your property. Have a good one.